Hi, dear students, dear friends, welcome to Gallant IAS. Yes, our prelims examination is very near to us, and we are going to give our best attempt this year. Yes, in this video, we will be solving something around 100 probable topics or concepts from ancient and medieval India in the very short time for this year prelims examination. So, anything can be asked from those topics this year prelims. Even a single two-marker question can be the game changer. So take it as a quick revision of this ancient and medieval India. Definitely it will benefit you. So watch this video till the end. So when you are in the examination hall, when you get the question booklet, please keep in the mind it can be the first 5 questions can be the most difficult ones, or the next 10 questions can be the most difficult questions, but don't lose your confidence and you must have your presence of mind. Don't have fear, anxiety, frustrations, etc., because your presence of mind is very important. Your focused mind is very important in order to maximize your score in the prelims examination. So be focused in the examination hall, and your target has to be solving maximum number of questions, 85 questions. Okay, so definitely you are going to rock this year, and be tension free, no tensions, no anxieties, no frustrations. Be happy, stay healthy, and wishing you all the very best. So we are starting now. This will be a quick revision of topics. I'm just solving the questions in a very quick way, so please follow me. Starting with the prehistoric India. Okay, there are 4 ages of prehistoric India: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic. I am giving you points from each. Homo sapiens made their appearance in the upper Paleolithic age. Not the point, first question's answer. Okay, Homo sapiens made their appearance in the upper Paleolithic age. Okay, then microlithic industry. Which of the prehistoric age is characterized by microlithic industry? Okay, that is making of the small and tiny stone tools. Microlithic industry, microlithic tools, that is Mesolithic age, middle stone age. Okay, it is characterized by microlithic tools or small tiny stone tools. Then Neolithic age is the new stone age. New stone age is characterized by settled life. They practiced community farming, community life, settled life and community farming, etc. They practiced. Yes, multi-crops cultivation was there. Then domestication of animals, and pottery made its appearance in the Neolithic age. Then there is a Chalcolithic age, that is the metal age. Take care, that was the metal age. Okay, first metal appear on Indian subcontinent, that was copper. Now here, Indus Valley civilization, take care, there is a question. The main crops cultivated by Indus people, that was wheat and barley. Wheat and barley, that were the main crops cultivated by Indus people. Then Indus civilization, it was a Bronze Age civilization. Take care, Indus civilization was a Bronze Age civilization. There is no iron tools, iron weapons appeared in this Indus civilization. It was basically Bronze Age civilization. Take care, okay. Iron made its appearance only in 1000 BC. And mature phase of Indus civilization, that ended by almost to 1900 BC or 1800 BC. It was a Bronze Age civilization. Iron appeared in 1000 BC only, okay, in the Gangetic basins. Now again, there is a man-made dockyard in Indus site, that is Lothal. Lothal is as known as a man-made dockyard or an artificial dockyard. And it practiced overseas trade with Mesopotamia or Iran, Iraq, Egypt, etc. Then Dholavira is another popular site. Dholavira is another popular site which is known for unique water management system. The sentence type of questions can be asked in the examination, already asked. Okay, Dholavira is the site where this signboard is discovered. Banavali is the site where this good quantity of the barley is discovered. Okay, so unique water management system, Dholavira. Signboard discovered from Dholavira. Also, this is the only city where the city is divided into 3 parts, like a citadel, middle town, lower town. Usually Indus cities are divided into citadel and lower town. Here 3 divisions are there. Then there are different theories about the decline of Indus civilization. Theories of decline also asked in the examination. Yes, Aryan invasion, the weakest theory for the decline of Indus civilization, Aryan invasion theory. presented by Mortimer Wheeler. Mortimer Wheeler. Then climatic change is the reason for the decline of Indus civilization. So climatic change theory presented by Orenstein. Okay, so take care. The script of Indus civilization, which is Bostrofeden. Take care, Bostrofeden, which is written from right to left, then left to right. Right to left, then left to right on alternate lines. Okay, right to left, left to right. That is Bostrofeden script. It is asked in the examination. Then the most important artistic creative work of Indus people, that was a seal. Indus civilization is the only river valley civilization that produced seals in multiple shapes. That is rectangular, cylindrical, triangular, in multiple shapes they produced a seal. Chief material used for seal making, that was steatite, a kind of a like a soapstone available in the riverbed. Okay, steatite. Now coming to Vedic age. Yes, the first question. Yes, Central Asian theory of Aryan migration, that is presented by Max Muller. Central Asian theory of Aryan migration. They are from Central Asia, migrated from Central Asia to India. Theory presented by Max Muller. Arctic region, they are from Arctic region. That theory was presented by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Then they are of Tibetan origin. That theory was presented by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Okay. Then difference between Harappa and Vedic. Harappa is an urban culture. Harappan civilization, 2600 BC to 1900 BC. Harappan civilization, it was an urban culture with all urban and advanced features. And Vedic culture, Rigvedic culture, it was a rural culture. Harappa, it's a major source of income or economic mainstay of economy, that was, yes, trade, domestic and international trade and agriculture. Then Rigvedic economy, pastoral economy, cattle rearing, cattle breeding, plus limited agriculture during Rigvedic era. Then art of writing known to Indus people, art of writing not known to Vedic people. Then horse unknown to Indus people, horse known to Vedic people. Vedic people, Aryans, were horse riders, warriors, and they possessed horse-drawn chariots also. All these are UPSC questions, so revise well. Now Mahajanpadas, the source which give us information about 16 Mahajanpadas in 600-500 BC, that is Anguttara Nikaya. Anguttara Nikaya Buddhist text gives information about 16 Mahajanpadas with their capitals and rulers. Okay. Then Haringa. Out of 16 Mahajanpadas, there is a powerful dynasty, that was Magadha dynasty or Magadha kingdom. Okay, out of 16 Mahajanpadas, there is Magadha, that is one of the very powerful kingdoms, and Magadha was ruled by different dynasties, and dynasties in a row. You see, Haringa dynasty in a sequel order: Haringa dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nanda dynasty. Haringa, Shishunaga, Nanda dynasty. Chronology based questions UPSC will ask. Okay, chronologically rearrange. So Haringa dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nanda dynasty. Take care. Haringa dynasty popular rulers are Bimbisara, Ajatashatru, Udayan. Shishunaga dynasty popular ruler is Kalashoga, who is the sponsor of the second Buddhist council. Then the last dynasty to rule Magadha was Nanda dynasty. Popular ruler is Mahapadmananda, who was also called Agarath, and he is known for annexation of Kalinga. Then the last ruler of Nanda dynasty, Dhanananda. When Alexander invaded India, he was ruling this Magadha. Also, Dhanananda was overthrown by Chandragupta Maurya with the help of Kalinga, and he established this Mauryan empire. Okay, so last ruler is Dhanananda. Now Buddhism, Jainism, take care, blockbuster modules, sure question. So some points you take care. Some major philosophies of Jainism: Shayadvada, Anegandavada. Okay, Shayadvada, Anegandavada philosophies of this Jainism. Then of course Buddhism, there is no belief in this soul. There is no belief in the soul. There is no belief in the immortality of the soul. Buddhism believes in this non-permanence. Nothing is permanent here. Everything is subject to change. Okay. Buddhism, there is no belief in soul. There is no belief in immortality of the soul. Jainism believes in soul. Jainism has belief in the immortality of the soul. And also Buddhism prefers middle path for salvation. Jainism prefers extreme austere life, extreme austere ascetic practices for salvation. Okay. But both had similarities also. Buddhism, Jainism, both had faith in karma. Both were non-theistic religions. Yes, both, let me tell you, both founders or maybe main leaders were Kshatriyas. Both had faith in Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, and detached from material world. Two major sources of Mauryan Empire. Two literary sources about Mauryan Empire: Arthashastra by Kaudilya and Megasthenes Indica. Megasthenes was a Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He stayed at his court and written about Padaliputra, written about overall administration, society, economy. Megasthenes Indica. In Megasthenes Indica, there is no mention of slavery. Says slavery was absent, usury was absent, etc. So Megasthenes Indica, Arthashastra, two main sources, literary sources about Mauryan Empire. Ashoka's contemporaries, another popular question, take care. Antiochus II was the Syrian contemporary of Ashoka the Great. Antiochus II, Syrian contemporary of Ashoka the Great. Ptolemy II is the Egyptian contemporary of Ashoka the Great. Then Antigonus is the Macedonian contemporary of Ashoka the Great. These contemporaries are asked in match the pair type of questions. Ashoka's popular, or who of the following is not a contemporary of Ashoka? Okay, take care. Now, some theories about a decline of Mauryan Empire. This can be asked in the examination, already asked in some UPSC exams. Romila Thapar says, highly centralized administration is the reason for decline of this Mauryan Empire. D.D. Kaushambi says, partition of the empire, weak rulers or weak economy, reasons for the decline of Mauryan Empire. H.P. Shastri says, Brahminical reactions, yes, reason for the decline of Mauryan Empire. Now, coming to post-Maurya, there are three major schools of art in post-Maurya: Gandhara, Madura, Amaravati. Gandhara is developed in the northwestern parts of Indian subcontinent. Gandhara, the chief material used in Gandhara is grey sandstone. Madura, it was spotted red sandstone. And in Amaravati, it was white marble. So Gandhara, grey sandstone. Madura, it is spotted red sandstone. And Amaravati, it is white marble. Gandhara, they produced Buddha's images, Buddha Bodhisattva images. Yes, just like the Greek Roman gods and rulers. Okay, so there is high influence of Greek Roman traditions of sculpting, anatomical accuracy, realistic representation, all these things were, or physical beauty, all these things were important there. Gandhara popularized Mahayana form of Buddhism. Buddha Bodhisattva images are produced there. Okay, then Madura is indigenous school of sculpting. And inner emotions, inner beauty was very important. Spirituality was very important here. Then Amaravati, Buddha's depiction was not in human forms. Buddha was depicted in various signs and symbols. Amaravati is also the school which was patronized by Shadavahanas and Ishwagus. Amaravati is known for narrative art. Okay, so take care. Now coming to Sangam literature. Sangam literature deals with the Cholachera Pandya rulers. Sangam literature deals with the Cholachera Pandya rulers. Just refer my other videos also. Okay, other videos also in our channel. Okay, so Sangam literature, Cholachera Pandyas. One popular Chola ruler is Karigala. UPSC can ask Karigala is a Pandya ruler or maybe Chera ruler or a Kalinga ruler, etc. So Kalinga ruler is Kharavela. This is Karigala. Okay. Then earliest Sangam literary work is Tolkappiyam, which is a work on grammar written by Tolkappiyar. The Nettu Thogai, Pattu Pattu, Padinel Kilkanakku, all these are Sangam literary works. And two popular epics, the Tamil epics are the Shilapadigaram, Manimegale. Now Gupta age, Gupta's provinces were called Bukti. Bukti is headed by Ubariga. Ubariga is similar to provincial governors. Then Bukti provinces are divided into districts. Districts were called Vishaya. Vishaya was headed by Vishayapati. Then see, Gupta age is known as the golden age of ancient India because of the tremendous growth it made in science, art, architecture, literature, medicine, mathematics, etc. Amaragosha is a famous work on lexicography. Amaragosha, that is by Amarasimha. Then Aryabhattiyam is by Aryabhatta, Mritchakadika by Shudraga, then Kiradarjuniyam by Bharavi. Indian Shakespeare, Kalidasa also composed so many works, secular Sanskrit works here. Official language of Gupta, Sanskrit, and the main genre of the Sanskrit dramas were comedy. Okay, then after that, after Gupta, there is Harsha's time, Harshavardhana's time. He convened two assemblies, Prayag assembly and Kanuj assemblies, that is to popularize Mahayana Buddhism and that is to popularize himself. Harsha is also the author of Ragnavali Priyadarshiga Nalgananda. Take care. His court poet was Bana Bhatta. Okay. Then after Harshavardhana, there is an age of a tripartite struggle. This tripartite struggle is basically for the mastery over Kanuj. Kanuj was the main center of administration that time. Padaliputra lost its significance. So the major participants in this tripartite struggle, that is Gurjara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas. Gurjara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas of Bengal. Then comes Imperial Cholas. Imperial Cholas, let me tell you, Rajaraja Chola, Rajendra Chola. Focus on their major achievements, their contributions. Okay, Rajaraja Chola is the builder of that, Brihadeshwara temple, UNESCO heritage site, and also he conquered Mysore, Travancore. And Rajendra Chola completed the Ceylon conquest, Sri Lanka conquest, that was colony of Imperial Cholas. Also, they had a look east, act east policies with Southeast Asia, and Rajendra Chola sent missions to China. Then comes Arab-Turkish invasions. Arab invasion by Muhammad bin Qasim. Turkish invasions started by Mahmud of Ghazni. Yes, 17 times he plundered India, and his 16th plunder was Somanatha temple plunder, and his court poet was Firdausi, and Firdausi's famous work is Shahnama. Then Al-Baruni, the Persian traveler, accompanied this Mahmud Ghazni to India. Al-Baruni's famous work is Kitab-e-Hind. Okay, after Mahmud Ghazni, then comes this Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori has fought three main battles here. The first is Tarain battle 1191, in which Muhammad Ghori was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan. Then there is Tarain battle 2 1192, in which Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated and killed by Muhammad Ghori. Then after which Muhammad Ghori's general Qutbuddin Aibak, his favorite slave, he established Delhi Sultanate. He established Delhi Sultanate 1206. That is by Qutbuddin Aibak. And this Delhi Sultanate, take care, that is ruled by 5 dynasties: Slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, Lodi dynasty. Slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, Lodi dynasty. Okay, that chronology is important for you. After Aibak, he died because while playing horse polo. Okay, after Aibak there is Iltutmish, introduced 2 coins. Tanga is silver coins, Jittal is copper coins. Then comes Balban. Balban is known for consolidation of Delhi Sultanate, his blood and policy, etc. Alauddin Khalji, known for his reforms, military reforms, market reforms, etc. His market reforms, let's see. Yes, Diwani Riyasat, market department started by Alauddin Khalji. Chehra Dag, muster roll and branding horses, such a military reform started by him. And he is also the first sultan to pay salary in cash. Then comes Muhammad bin Tughlaq. His major reforms were transfer of capital from Delhi to Dawlatabad, that is to have better control of South India, Delhi to Dawlatabad. Then token currency introduction because of the global crisis for silver coins. He replaced silver coins with copper coins. That was a failure because of forgery. Then taxation in Doab. Then Diwani Kohi, that is the agricultural department he started. After which Sayyid dynasty, after Sayyid dynasty there is Lodi dynasty. Yes, Bahulal Lodi, Ibrahim Lodi later defeated by this Babur. Babur established Mughal Empire. Okay, that was in 1526. Okay. Then comes Vijayanagar Empire, 14th century. There is a powerful empire, regional empire, which is Vijayanagar Empire in 14th century AD. Harihar and Bakka, they were the founders of Vijayanagar Empire on the banks of Tungabhadra river. Sangama Salwa Tuluva Aravidu. These are the dynasties which ruled Vijayanagar Empire. In order, you see, Krishnadevaraya belongs to Tuluva dynasty, and he was regarded as Andhra Pidamaha, Andhra Bhoja, Abhinav Bhoja. These are titles given to him, and his court luminaries were called Ashtadigajas. That is again very important for you. Then his famous Telugu work is, literary work is Amukta Malyada. His Sanskrit work is Jambavati Kalyanam. And gold coins issued by Vijayanagar rulers is called Varaha. Okay. And they signed the royal orders in the name of Sri Virupaksha. They claim to rule on behalf of the Virupaksha. Okay. Family deity, royal deity. Then there are 5 Deccani kingdoms after division of disintegration of Bahmani Sultanate. Yes, that is Berar, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bidar. Berar, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bidar. Take care. 2 foreign travelers visited the court of, Portuguese travelers visited the court of Krishnadevaraya, Domingo Paes, Duarte Barbosa. Domingo Paes and Duarte Barbosa. Bhakti Sufi traditions. You please go through Bhakti Sufi traditions. Yes, Bhakti saints are Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti saints. Saguna believes in worship God in the physical form, human form. Nirguna, they experience salvation through mystical experiences. Okay. Ramananda Chaitanya, Saguna Bhakti saints. Kabir Guru Nanak Dadu Dayal, they are Nirguna Bhakti saints. And Visishta Advaita philosophy by Ramanuja, Advaita by Sri Shankaracharya. Then Daidu Advaita philosophy by Nimbaraga, Shuddha Advaita philosophy Acharya, that is also called Shuddha Advaita, is also called the Pushti mark. Okay. Then there is Sufism, believes in devotional worship, ziyarat, going on pilgrimages, self-discipline, fasting, okay, suppression of passions through ascetic practices, central to Sufism. Then comes Babur. Yeah, Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. Order is important for you. Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. Just to go through their major contributions, major achievements. Okay, that's very important, especially Akbar. Okay, then comes the later rulers. Okay, just go through Sher Shah Suri and his reforms and Maratha administration, and finally it is advent of the Europeans. Yes, Portuguese, Dutch, British, French. That is the order of the European advent to India. Europeans arrived in India in an order. First Portuguese, then Dutch, then British, then France. Then this Dutch, the European power defeated by an Indian ruler, Dutch, that was in Kolachil battle, 1741. Dutch defeated by Travancore ruler, Martanda Varma. Okay. Then Dutch defeated by British in Bedara battle, 1759. Out of these Europeans, yes, British only were able to successful to establish their colony of India for longer time. So this is all about ancient medieval India. Have a thorough revision. Wishing you all the very best wishes, and you will rock this year. All the best to all my dear students and friends. Thank you.